Our next presenter is Aidan King. Aidan King is a junior here at DHS who is currently enrolled in AP Human Geography. Great class, by the way. He is extremely interested in geography and has seen how it is applicable to the everyday. Aidan finds that learning the very basics about math types can come in handy and is interesting for everyone. He hopes many of you consider taking human geography, and no, I didn't pay him to say that, as it has made him a more worldly and educated person. Aidan chose to participate in the TEDx DHS conference because he has watched loving the previous TEDx conferences and has had great conversations about the subjects that have been discussed. And he hopes to provide those same conversations for you. Please welcome Aidan as he presents Terrible.
All right. Hey. How's it going? Morning. Well, as many of you might be asking, yes, this is a giant globe that's above my head, and sadly I can't throw it, but I can show it to you at least. And unlike my friend Atlas here, I'll be fine. It's just an inflatable, which means, in other words, I guess I blew the world up. Now, enough about atlases. I'll get to those later. For now, let's start with a simple question. Oh, sorry about that. Thank you, Vabo. There we go. I'm blind, that's the issue. Now, how many of us know what this number actually means right here? All right, allow me to clarify. These are GPS coordinates. It's actually the coordinates of Dartmouth High, and we are currently there. GPS is amazing, isn't it? If you were going to tell Aristotle, way back in the day, that you could use satellites to find any location on the Earth instantly with the press of a button, he would have fallen out of his chair. It's incredible. But enough about history. Today I'm going to be talking to you about geography, the greatest social study. Geography is broken into several parts, the first being physical geography. Physical geography just deals with anything that is naturally occurring, such as rock formations, bodies of water, and the environment itself. And thankfully, geographers don't stop there. The other part of geography is human geography, which deals with any human interaction with the environment, our world, and each other. This quote here is by a man called Harm Deblay, who wrote our Human Geo textbook. Ms. True just so happens to love him. He dedicated his life to the study of human geography, and he made it quite clear that it's not just about what is where, but who and what are where, and how and why. Now, how can we depict all this constant information coming in and the changes within our world? The answer is quite simple, with maps. Whether found on a scroll, a stone tablet, or even in a book of maps called an atlas. Wait, sorry, this type of atlas. Maps are very important to us. Thank you. Now, maps come in many different sizes and shapes. Here's one right now. This is a this is a cartogram. This shows data based on shading and distorting different places. This one just so happens to show what percentage of a population lives in an urban society, given whichever country you're looking at. And speaking of distortion, I mean, look at India. It takes up like a fourth of the globe. Now, here's another map. This one just so happens to be a Peters projection. A projection is simply the style that a map is shown in, and I'll get more into that later. But for now, just know that they can look kind of funky, and there's a lot of them. I mean, Africa is massive in this. It takes up more than India did in the last one. Now, before I dive into anything, let's just go over how to read a map. It might have been a while for some of us. 6th grade. So, first, every map has a key, or a legend, which tells you which symbols represent what. The national capital is the focus here, being DC, as most of you probably knew. Other symbols would include other cities, such as Houston. The map also has a scale, which shows you what the distance is in real life relative to whatever the measurement is on the paper itself. Other than that, you have your compass rose with the cardinal directions, and your latitudes and longitudes. Your latitudes running horizontally, like the rungs of a ladder. Ladder for latitude, yeah? There are 180 of them, 90 running north of the equator, 90 running south. And there are 360 longitudes, which run vertically across the globe. 180 running west from the prime meridian, and 180 running east. The prime meridian runs through Greenwich, England, which is where we base our time zones off of. Very important. So, oh yeah, that's something else. This map didn't actually have a title. Maps should have titles or else you don't know what you're talking about, so I put one up there. I don't really like the heat too much. All right, now let's get into projections. This is a Mercator projection, which is probably very familiar to most of you. You've probably seen it all your life, in fact. And each projection has its own strengths and weaknesses. The Mercator's is the fact that it ignores the curves of the Earth, which makes your latitudes and longitudes very straight. This made it easy for sailors to go around the world in whichever way they pleased and made math quite simple for them. The issue with this, however, is the distortion, or the stretching and pulling of different shapes of the countries and continents. For instance, take a look at Greenland. Like, that thing is massive. And other than the fact that it's green, it really shouldn't be shown like this. In reality, it's actually only 2/3 the size of India, with 2 million square kilometers versus India's 3.2. Now, there's a bunch of different projections, and the reasoning for this is simple. Since each projection has its own strengths and weaknesses, we might want to use different ones to analyze different places or how we view the world. This one is a Robinson. Personally, this is my favorite. Its weakness becomes its strength. It distorts all of the countries and continents, and even the oceans, in such a way that it makes it more accurate overall. It's like an average. It even includes the curves of the Earth, which makes everything nice and simple. Now, there's projections, but there's also something called map types. Map types are how you display different percentages or statistics for whatever you're looking at or whatever the subject is. The first one I'm going to be, percentages. The first one I'm going to be showing you guys is a Choropleth. A Choropleth simply shades areas based on whatever statistic or fact you're looking for. This one just so happens to be looking at what type of word you would use for a carbonated beverage, or as we know it, soda. Our area where we speak this certain vernacular or word is known as an isogloss, and ours happens to be blue. And if you couldn't tell, with the blue in the background, and my shirt, and this bracelet, and pretty much everything about me, I like blue. Okay. Thank you. And you guys are a wonderful audience, and I don't feel too blue right now, which is quite good. Now, thank you. Okay. Woo! Yeah, no, that wasn't it. Oh, there we go. Okay. Here's the next map type. It's a dot map. Dot maps are very important. You can use them to find out where the population of the world is stored, each dot representing one thing. In this case, it just happens to be 100,000 people. And this can tell us what the population density around the world would be, or where people are more located than in other places. As you'll notice, there's a ton of people in India and China, as you may have known, Western Europe, and most of the coasts of the world, as these are pretty good places for people to start populating. Now, with all these different statistics and data that we can study, we can analyze the world in a different way and come to more conclusions. Maps are very important. And really, it's all about your perspective of the world, especially here. So, who thinks this map's just like really weird, right? Thank you. It's upside down, as you probably can read, or at least I hope. Now, who decided that north was up? No? Okay. Well, if no one disagrees with me, then north could also be down. Easy. You don't have to think outside the globe to think outside the box here. And when you study geography, your entire perspective of the world could be flipped upside down. But in the end, you open up your eyes and you manage to see a lot more of the world around you. One day in Ms. True's Human Geo class, which I take here, which I highly recommend you all take if you have the space, we were talking about housing types in America. And this one, the New England type, is very common around here if you might see it. Now, I hadn't realized why this house type would be around here. Ms. True explained it pretty eloquently, and I can't, so I'll just go for it like this. It's got a chimney, right? And it's also got shutters on the windows, and it's got strong windows against the weather. Probably shingles, too. One day as I was going to soccer after school, I passed by one of these, and I thought just how applicable all my knowledge from this class was, and from how much I love studying human geography. Now, all of this has changed me as a person. I've become more worldly in essence. I now think of myself in comparison to the average person in the world rather than just your average run-of-the-mill Joe in Dartmouth. And that's pretty important. The world is now in the palm of our hands. With it being so easy to study, we can learn so much about everywhere around us. Thank you. After all, how do we expect to change the world into a better place if we know of nothing about it? Oh, by the way, here, who wants it? Okay. That one wasn't gonna pop, but if you do manage to pop it, I will congratulate you. And before I go, I'd like to give a special thanks to Ms. Drew. She's been very helpful for all of this, and she sparked my interest in human geography, as well as the topic as a whole. And so therefore, my key to the world is geography. Thank you.